A large portion of the Jewish nation has returned to its homeland, but the heart, soul, and mind of much of the Jewish nation are still in exile mode. This state of affairs must and will inevitably change. This is Torah Nation TV from Jerusalem, and we are speaking with the head of Machon Shilo, Rabbi David Bar-Hayim. Shalom, Rabbi Bar-Hayim.
Shalom.
When lighting Hanukkah candles, what is preferable, oil or candles?
Most people have been taught that it is preferable to use oil when lighting Hanukkah candles. So that is a miswa min mufhar, the optimal way to perform the miswa. Whereas using candles is less mufhar, less desirable. In fact, I believe this is not true, and I will explain on the basis of the discussion of the Talmud Bavli why I believe this is the case. Let us therefore look at the discussion of the Talmud Bavli, Masechet Shabbat, Kaf Gimel Amud Aleph 23a. The Gemara quotes the statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Nevi, who said as follows: Kol hashemanim kulam yafim laner. All oils may be used for the lighting of the candle. Washemen zayit min mufhar. But oil from an olive oil is the best kind of oil for lighting candles. That is a miswa min mufhar. It is not explicit in the words of Rabbi Yoshua ben Nevi whether he refers to the lighting of Shabbat candles or Hanukkah candles. Either perush is possible, it would seem, but the Tosafot prefer the interpretation that the reference here is to the lighting of Hanukkah candles. And on the basis of that assumption, we continue. And it's also possible to explain that the statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Nevi applies to both Shabbat candles and Hanukkah candles, so there's no necessary contradiction involved. Abaye goes on to tell us that his teacher, Rabbah, originally preferred to use sesame seed oil when lighting the Hanukkah candle, but eventually changed his practice and preferred to use olive oil for this purpose. He says as follows: Amar Abaye, Meresh hawa mahadar mar amishhad shum shemeh. It was the original practice of my teacher, whom he referred to as Mar, the master, to use sesame seed oil for the Hanukkah candles. Amar, and he explained his preference by saying, Hai mashech nehora tafeh. This oil, when used, the light lasts longer. Rashi explains that the oil of sesame seeds, it lasts longer than olive oil. In other words, if you put a certain quantity of olive oil in a candle, and next to it another candle with the same quantity of sesame seed oil, the candle using sesame seed oil as a fuel will burn for a longer period of time. And this was considered by Rabbah, the teacher of Abaye, to be preferable. From this, by the way, one could add parenthetically that we see, based on these words of Rashi, this explanation of Rashi, based on the statement of Abaye and the practice of Rabbah, we see a possible source for the notion that there is some purpose, there is some miswa involved in Hanukkah candles lasting beyond the shiur that they are required to last. In other words, if the shiur is half an hour or an hour or 2 hours, whatever the shiur may be, based on the realities in which we live today, which is a separate discussion, you would think, and it would be correct to think, that you do not need to have more oil or to use longer candles that would last longer than that necessary period of time. Based on this discussion here, it is possible to see that there is a source for the idea that the longer the Hanukkah candles last, the better it is. Abaye goes on to say, however, my teacher Rabbah changed his practice. Eventually he switched and he preferred to use olive oil, despite what we just learned before, that sesame seed oil lasts longer. And why did he do so? Amar hai salil nehora tafeh. He heard the statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Nevi, who said that olive oil is the most mehudar, the best possible way of performing the miswah. And he also explained the rationale behind it. He said because the light of olive oil, when used in a candle, is brighter and clearer. Perhaps this means to say that it flickers less and the flame is more clear and bright and pleasing to the eye. At any rate, what we see from this discussion is that when it comes to the lighting of Hanukkah candles, the most important consideration is the beauty, the pleasing nature of the light, the flame that one can achieve by using one kind of oil or another kind of candle. The same would apply probably to wicks, etc. Whatever produces the most pleasing and the most steady and brightest flame, that would be the preferable one, as opposed to the one that lasts perhaps longer but is less beautiful, less pleasing to the eye. On the basis of this, Rav Kook writes in Miswath Ra'aya, which is a book which contains different Hidushim of Rav Kook Zatzal on the Shulchan Aruch. He writes that it seems to him, based on this sugya, that it is preferable nowadays to use candles for Ner Hanukkah rather than to use oil and wicks. And I would add here parenthetically, that is also what it says in the Ramah, in the Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Tau Resh Ayin Gimel. The Shulchan Aruch quotes this halakha that all oils may be used for Ner Hanukkah, but that olive oil is the miswa min muvhar, the optimal oil for that purpose. And the Ramah adds that the custom in our countries, in our parts of the world, this is being written of course 500 years ago in Poland, is to use neroth shel sha'awa, wax candles. Today most candles are not made of wax, mostly made of paraffin, but that doesn't really change the purpose. What the Ramah is saying is that the candles that we have today produce a clearer, brighter light than any kind of oil that we can obtain, including olive oil, and therefore it seems to the Ramah that this is the best possible choice. It is true that the Mishnah Berurah quotes certain sources to the effect, and this is what most people have heard, that because the miracle of the Nes Pach Hashemen of the oil took place with reference to olive oil, because that is what was used in the menorah and the mikdash, therefore it is preferable to use olive oil. But Rav Kook rejects this logic, which by the way also appears in one source in the Rishonim, in the Meiri, who mentions this svara, this idea of his own volition, because it is not mentioned in the Gemara, as Rav Kook points out. Rav Kook rejects this claim. He says if it were true that the fact that this particular oil, olive oil, was the one used in the mikdash, in the temple, and therefore the oil which was involved in the miracle, if it were true that using this oil is preferable for that reason, then the Gemara would have explained that the reason that Rabbah preferred using olive oil is because that is the nes, that is the shemen shenasa bo nes, that is the oil with which the miracle occurred. And the Gemara would not give the reason that it is because the light was brighter and clearer. And based on this, Rav Kook says, we see that this svara, this rationale, did not occur to the Talmud at all. What did occur to the Talmud was that whatever seems more pleasing, whatever is brighter and clearer, and I would add perhaps whatever, in whichever case the flame is larger and more steady and more reliable, and I would say also even longer lasting, because in my experience, candles, large candles, will last for much longer than any kind of oil-based candle. Therefore, for all those reasons, the candles that we have today, particularly if one uses a slightly larger candle, are preferable to any kind of setup which involves oils and wicks. This is what Rav Kook writes, and it is interesting to note that I have not seen many people who tend to follow Rav Kook's teachings actually rely on this psak of Rav Kook, but to me it has always seemed eminently logical and reasonable, simply because of the fact that, again, in my experience, and I see this wherever I look, that at first, perhaps the first half hour, the first hour, candles using oil and wicks can burn quite pleasingly and brightly, although even then the flames will be smaller than the flame which one achieves with a large candle, a simple paraffin candle. But after some time, the flames tend to become reduced in size. They diminish, they begin to become smaller and smaller, and eventually often they extinguish themselves. And whereas a candle, as long as there is no external influence such as the wind which blows it out, a candle will burn true and clear and bright and in a very pleasing manner all the way to the end. And it's also much easier for us nowadays. We are not used to usually lighting candles on a regular daily basis based on oil and wicks, as was once the case. Perhaps for that reason also we are less proficient when it comes to lighting candles of that sort. And for all these reasons, therefore, I believe that using candles is preferable to using oil.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.